Hello everyone, my name is Andi from Jakarta State University. Today I'm going to present my midterm project for L1 and L2 language development, titled Andi's English Journey, Insights from Behaviorist, Cognitivist, and Interactionist Views. In these presentations, I will discuss Andi's case as a second language learner, analyze it through three major language acquisition theories, and share some teaching strategies and reflections based on the theories. First, we are going to look at case overview. Andi is an Indonesian university student in a blended English program. He excels in grammar and reading, but struggles with speaking and writing. He often translates mentally from Indonesians before speaking and avoids group discussions. Andi comes from a lower middle-income family and works part-time. His previous schools focus on grammar-based learning and exams. He studies English mainly to improve his career, not for personal enjoyment. This was a brief description of Andi's case, and from here, we can identify several important factors that influence his English learning. So, who is Andi? Based on the case, we can draw several key points about Andi. First, he is a 20-year-old university student studying in blended English program, combining online and face-to-face learning. He is strong in grammar and reading, but struggles with speaking and writing. This shows an imbalance between receptive and productive skills. His habit of translating from Indonesian suggests he still depends heavily on his first language and is not yet comfortable thinking directly in English. He also avoids group discussions, likely because of anxiety and low confidence. From a socio-economic side, he works part-time and comes from a modest family, giving him fewer chances for real English exposure. Finally, his motivation is mainly instrumental, learning English for a career improvement, not personal enjoyment. All of this from a clear foundations for analyzing Andi's language development using the three theories. Now, let's begin with the first one, the behaviorist theory. The behaviorist theory introduced by Watson and Skinner sees language learning as a process of habit formations through imitations, repetitions, and reinforcement. Learners respond to stimuli, and when the response is reinforced through praise or corrections, it becomes a habit. And these strong grammar skills show how repetitions and corrections work effectively in his schooling. However, his weak speaking ability shows few opportunities for oral reinforcement. Because teachers emphasize correctness over communications, and they never form speaking habits. His tendency to translate from L1 shows habit interference, where his first language still dominates. If we look deeper at the factors, individually, Andi is accuracy-oriented and anxious about mistakes. Socioculturally, he has shaped by an education system that values correct answer. And socio-economically, his part-time job limits his practice time. From the behaviorist view, Andi's progress and struggles both reflect the types of reinforcement he has or lacks in his learning environment. The next theory is the cognitive theory, based on the ideas of Jean Piaget and information processing models. This theory sees language learning as a mental process, where learners actively organize and store information. It moves from the declarative knowledge, knowing rules, to productional knowledge, using them automatically. And his habit of translating before speaking shows that he is still at the declarative stage. He knows grammar concisely but cannot use it fluently. His grammar-based schooling built his explicit knowledge but not automations. Also, anxiety adds cognitive load, making him overthink rather than speak freely. From this view, Andi needs meaningful tasks that connect knowledge to real use, so his language becomes more automatic. Individually, he over-monitors himself. Socioculturally, his schooling focuses on tests over communications, and socio-economically, he has limited exposure to natural English input. So cognitivist theory helps us see that Andi's issue isn't lack of knowledge, it is the gap between knowing the rule and using it spontaneously. The last theory, the interactionist theory, draws from Vygotsky, Long, and Swain. It emphasizes that language develops through social interactions and negotiation of meaning. According to Long's interaction hypothesis, input becomes comprehensible through interactions, while Swain's output hypothesis says that producing language helps learners notice their own gaps. In Andi's case, there is a clear input-output gap. He receives a lot of input from reading and grammar lessons, but avoids speaking, so he rarely produces output. As a result, he gets little feedback or opportunities to negotiate meaning, but crucial for communicative competence. Andi's shyness, his cultural fear of mistake, and limited real-life exposure all reduce his chance to develop fluency. The interactionist perspective shows that language learning isn't just about practice or knowledge, it is about meaningful communications. And based on these theories, there are several teaching strategies that could help Andi. First, through dialogue drills, Andi can form new speaking habits with positive reinforcement. Text-based learning allows him to use English meaningfully, helping to connect his mental knowledge to real communications. And group discussions give him the social context needed to negotiate meaning, learn from peers, and overcome anxiety. These strategies, when combined, can help Andi move from a rule-based learner to a more confident communicator. This case has taught me a lot about how people learn language. I realized that language learning is not only about mastering grammar, but also about building habits, mental connections, and confidence through interactions. I also learned that past experience like Andi's grammar-focused schooling can strongly shape how learners behave and perform in the classroom today. My understanding of language learning has changed. I used to think fluency depended mainly on talent or confidence, but now I see the consistent reinforcement and meaningful repetitions are what really build fluency. As a future teacher, I would focus on positive reinforcement, praising speaking attempts instead of only corrections errors. I would also design activities that reward participations and effort so learners don't fear making mistakes. Finally, I would aim to balance accuracy and fluency because both need reinforcement and practice to grow together. In short, Andy's story reminds me that the key to successful language learning is supportive practice, not perfections.